Hi there, I'm John from CNCKing.com, and today we made 2 custom rubber stamps. My company has been making custom rubber stamps, both self-inking and non-self-inking, like these manual ones, since I started the company almost, 8 years ago. And the technology, nothing's really changed around it. It's just the designs keep changing, which is kind of a fun part of doing these things, because every stamp is unique in its own way. Now in this case here, unlike a self-inking stamp, this is the same rubber that we would use for a self-inking stamp. You can see the logo here. And what this is on top is actually a piece of pine. So the reason why we use pine or any other sort of thicker wood, sometimes we use MDF as well, is because it's something that's really nice to grab. And when you press down on it, you want something that's totally flat. So what I do here in the shop is before I marry this to this, I actually sand it so that it's completely dead flat, which is very important. Because that's what you want to do, is have a bumpy stamp, because when you put it into the ink pad, what you have is a little bit of things lifting here and there. When it comes to making custom rubber stamps, literally anything works. There are certain specific sizes I need to stick with if I'm doing self-inking stamps, but like this one here is a manual stamp or a traditional stamp, so I don't need to worry about that. So literally any shape, any size works totally fine. Now the smell of this smells like a dead body, so it doesn't really smell that good in the shop when I do laser engraving, laser cutting of stamps. But I always do woodworking afterwards, so it brings back the, a pleasant smell in the shop. It smells like campfire or firewood instead of just, dead bodies all over the place. So what I'm doing here is laser engraving the stamp in just one pass. What would happen if I did 2 passes? I'd just get a little bit more depth. But you also have to keep in mind there's a lot of that rubber dust all around, so it can sometimes get impeded on the stamp. So if I do multiple passes, what I really want to do is do one solid pass, if at all possible. Now I've done a lot of stamps as well for hot stamping machines and that kind of stuff, and I sort of stopped doing that, and the reason for that is because the rubber was had such a high durometer, such a hard thickness, that it was causing issues when you actually use it, because it takes a long time for that rubber to get warm to the proper temperature. Then when you press down on it using a hot stamping system, you start to have issues. So with that, I'll end up doing probably something with aluminum or something metal related, so that's on the back burner for now. In this case here, this is pine, and I'm doing the backing of the stamp. They are held together using just double-sided tape, so it's a pretty straightforward process. The reason why I use pine for this is just because I had it in the shop. Generally what I do is actually use MDF. MDF is a fibrous board, and it's very consistent and flat. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what I use, as long as it's something flat. And you notice here as well, I got something thick. You gotta remember, you're holding this with your fingers, maybe I don't know, 10, 20,000, whatever. You want something that's very easy to grab with your hand, because after a while your hand starts to hurt. So it's nice to have something that's, chunky to grab, and you can switch hands if you need to, and so forth. Now the laser engraving here, you can see all the smoke and the dust all around. I just sand that right off, and you end up with a really nice pine surface after the laser engraving and cutting process. Now you definitely see some fire under there. And of course there is also some fire with the rubber. The reason you don't see it too much is because I'm extracting all of that rubber dust out of the machine as soon as it's being made. So what are your design options when it comes to making custom rubber stamps? They're totally endless. As you saw here, this can literally be any shape, any size, and literally any material. So if you wanted the stamp actually to be made out of pine, we can do that as well, but I do suggest doing it out of maple instead. It's a hardwood and it produces a lot better results. So if you're looking for custom rubber stamps, any size, any shape, any material, contact me at CNCKing.com. We'll cut it for you, engrave it for you, and ship it right to your door.